Hey, I'm Diane Prince, and I have been on Clubhouse for 48 hours. I want to share my experiences with you. Gosh, experience, strength, and hope, more like it. Okay, so if you don't know what Clubhouse is, rest assured you will be hearing a lot about it, and you will know what it is. So, but I first heard about Clubhouse through the Snacks Daily podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts. It's the Robin Hood podcast, and I've been listening to it all throughout COVID. I love it. And they've been peppering in comments about Clubhouse throughout the last several months. And Clubhouse is sort of like, so it's been exclusive, invitation only, very limited audience. It's Silicon Valley backed, and it's kind of like in the 80s we used to have party lines where you'd call a phone number and you'd get to talk to randos. So Clubhouse is kind of like that, but in a kind of an organized fashion with different rooms. Okay, so I'd heard about it, thought it sounded pretty cool, but I wasn't in it. I wasn't in the club. And so anyway, so somebody had, someone posted on Facebook. I started seeing people this last couple of days or last week that they, maybe since the first, that they were in Clubhouse. So then I realized if you download the app, and reserve your username, and somebody who is already in Clubhouse, they can bring you in. Okay, so once you get in, you get one invitation. But if that person's in your contacts, you can just let them in. So I went and I was like, oh, that's cool. I reserved Diane Prince. How awesome is that? So, because it's my name. And then immediately somebody let me in. Thank you, Alina. And I got let in, and I'm like, oh wow. So I kind of felt like, cool, like I'm a member of Clubhouse. That's really cool. Now let me check this thing out. And so I was like, at first didn't really get it at first. And then I got invited to help moderate a room, I thought that was so cool. And I'm like, somebody I know, and all of a sudden I get this message that's like, Mark Goulston wants you to, I can't even remember what it said, but basically invited me to join this room and then be a moderator. And I'm like, yeah, there were only a couple, 5 people in the room, but I'm like, yeah, let me try it. Let me see how this thing works. Meanwhile, I had been sitting there with my kids, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try this. So I'm in this room, and everybody's kind of sharing about their experiences. It was the topic was New Year's resolutions and tips on keeping them. And then I started meeting people, and then I started having offline conversations. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. And then I posted about it on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, if anyone wants to get invited, and I'm all like euphoric about this thing. So then I left that room because I'm like, God, this could go on forever. And then there's a function on Clubhouse that's this peace out function. So you can, it's not called peace out. I think it's called leave quietly. So I just left quietly. And then my kids, and just like a little background. So my kids, since COVID, my 2 young adults and my almost adult have not, they've been with me, except for my middle child moved out, but they've been here for the holidays. And so I really all the kids did go to their dad's for Christmas. Then that was the first time since COVID that I've had any alone time in my house. So then they went to their dad's this weekend, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. So they left. But when they were still here, I'm like, this Clubhouse thing is amazing. I'm like, you guys, this is so cool. You have to try this. And then I posted about it on Facebook, and then all these people are talking about how amazing, all these people in Clubhouse are talking about how amazing Clubhouse is. And so there's different rooms, and in each room there's different topics. So all sorts of topics. Like I've found a ton of startup people and entrepreneurs, but I don't know if that's because that's like my thing, you know, like whatever, you can kind of choose the things you want to talk about. But then there were things about like soulmate, finding your soulmates, and it's a little bit confusing at first, but you pick it up really, really quickly. Anyway, so at the beginning it was like total euphoria. Like, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to be all alone this weekend, and now I have all these people to talk to. Okay. And meanwhile, I am building a business, and I coach startup founders. And one of the things that we talk about is how you spend your time and how limited, you know, how valuable your time is as a resource. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, is this time spent here, is this product building? Maybe. I'm looking for some other coaches for different parts of my online program. So maybe I'm like, is this marketing? Well, maybe. I mean, you know, like if I can get this big audience, and, you know, maybe, I don't know. So is this sales? Maybe I'll get some clients. So anyways, it's like kind of like, okay, maybe. And then, you know, and then maybe it's fun. Like maybe it's, you know, something enjoyable. So anyway, so at first I'm like, okay, this is great. And then as the day goes on, so then I got off of it for a little bit, and I'm like, oh, let me peek in and see. Let me see what's going on in there. And then you'll get notifications on your phone, and I'll get pinged from people I know that is in the ping says, hey, you should join this room. And then I started making like offline connections from it, introducing people. I even met this guy who has this speed dating app, and which was so cool. And I got on the app, and I had a date with someone from Mongolia. I actually didn't. We're about to meet, and I'm like, you know what, dude, like, I don't think this makes sense because you live in Mongolia. Excuse me. So I didn't actually go on that date. But anyway, so then the kids went to their dads, and I'm like, oh, let me go back on it. And I listened to another conversation, and then started getting more followers. The interesting thing is, once you're on it, when you can create really long profiles, and that's like a thing. Like that's a big thing on Clubhouse, are your profiles. So you can create really long, robust profiles, and you can put in your Twitter link and your Instagram link as direct links. So you start getting more followers, and that's, you know, kind of adrenaline pumping and addicting. And then you do start making so, like, the people are pretty amazing. Like, I was in rooms yesterday with Gail King, Grant Cardone, Tiffany Haddish, and Ben Horowitz, Felicia Horowitz, Mark Andreessen. So it's like, okay, so that was interesting. And then I took I stepped back a little bit. I did my Peloton workout, made myself dinner. I'm like, maybe let me go back on it. And then the interesting thing was, as I kept on it, that I heard more and more people talking. There's a lot of conversations on there about Clubhouse, because you'll notice they started since when you reserve your username now. So it used to be invitation only and pretty exclusive. Now, if you go on and you reserve your username and somebody has you in their contacts, they can invite you in. Can't remember if I just said that. I've recorded this a couple of times because I had an audio issue. But and now there's a plane flying ahead. And I haven't slept well, so part of the point of this is my brain is totally fried from Clubhouse. Okay. And as I'm looking at my phone, I'm getting notifications to join multiple rooms. Okay, so I can't even remember, honestly, what happened Friday and what happened Saturday. Today is Sunday the 3rd. So people start talking about, so a lot of people are talking about how amazing Clubhouse is. And then there's also people talking about how amazing it is. And they're also talking about how they have not slept. There are people sharing about being in rooms for 8 hours minimum, at least. So what happens is you go in a room, and then there's moderators, and you can just, people talk and you can get invited to talk, and you can't record, you don't record it. So none of this is like, it's not like a podcast where you can go back and listen to the transcript. It's just people talking. And then as they're talking, people read each other's profiles and connect with each other. Like they'll connect on LinkedIn. Like I got a whole bunch of connections on LinkedIn. I got a whole bunch of new Instagram followers. I got a whole bunch of new Clubhouse followers. But then it was really interesting because people, as the day went on, so I unplugged, I ate dinner, and then I took a bath, and I brought the damn phone with me, and I brought a club. I was in Felicia Horowitz's dinner party in my bath. Okay, so I'm in my bath, and that's where like Gayle King and Tiffany Haddish were on there, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy. And they're actually like, it makes them seem like pretty accessible, which I guess they kind of are. Like this dude who, well, this is the other thing is people, since the floodgates just opened, if you're on it now, like if you've just gotten on it, you'll notice people have been on it. There's like people who seem like they really get it, and they're hosting rooms, and then you look and you see like they've been on this for 4 days or 2 days, or like, I mean, and then I'm like, how do they know all this stuff? Well, because people are not turning it off. Okay, so then it was like this weird thing where it's really uplifting and empowering, and the quality of some of these people, I mean, the things they've done, and the vulnerability, and everyone was so nice. And then at the same time, people are sharing about, there was one topic that came up was, how is Clubhouse affecting your relationship? And people were talking about how it was, I think it was all men who were talking about this topic, but one of them said, well, my wife is into it too, so she's actually sitting here next to me, and we're doing it together, and we leave it on during dinner, and to be honest, like it's on all the time. And then somebody else said, my wife is really upset about it, and because people are on it like nonstop. And then I'm thinking about like, okay, so I've got shit to do. Like I'm building a business, and I'm still on this app. Same with all these other people, because there's a lot of business owners on there. So anyway, then people are talking about how they haven't slept. Like, wow, this is kind of weird. So one guy, I was in this room with this one guy who is like, now, I mean, he's like a Clubhouse influencer. Tiffany Haddish is following him. He's a marketing dude, living in Puerto Rico, and he's sharing. It was 3 a.m. in Puerto Rico, and for me, I normally go to bed at like 9. So by this point, it's 11 p.m. and I'm still in this room. But then I'm like, then the thing that happened to me is I'll be in a room, and then I start getting more followers. I start getting more followers on Clubhouse. I start getting more followers on Instagram, because you connect your Instagram. And then I kept on getting more people looking at my LinkedIn and more LinkedIn connections. So, and then I'm thinking, well, this one was a pretty popular one. You can raise your hand, and then the moderator can call on you. And I'm thinking, well, he's about to call on me. He's about to call on me. And I wanted him to call on me. And then he started talking about how it was 3 a.m. in Puerto Rico. And I hung up. I'm like, I have got to go to sleep. But by this point it was midnight. I did hang up on that one. I went into another room, and Mark Andreessen was in there, and I'm like, wow. And if you don't know who Andreessen and Horowitz are, that they're one of the big venture capital firms in Silicon Valley, and they are investors in Clubhouse. And I'm thinking, how are they on this at midnight? And then I just thought about it, and I'm like, damn, like we are all getting sucked into I start thinking to myself, like, we all think Jeff Bezos is bad. Like, we think Amazon's bad. This is like literally, I am not a conspiracy theorist at all, but I am like seeing this before my eyes and thinking, this is so interesting. People are getting sucked in who are actually admitting how happy they are that they are not sleeping, that they are on this thing all night long. So I made a friend named Ken. So Ken goes on. So there's this guy, I think his name was Gary, this marketing dude. And so this new guy, Ken, comes on. And because people are so new, like Ken pops up, he has 0 followers because he's literally been on the app for like less than a minute, like for seconds. He comes in the app, he comes in this room. And so Gary says, okay, so this is what you do, and you ping people and you invite them in a room. So all of a sudden, like there's like this little splinter room that Ken started. So I go in there for like a hot minute, and I'm like, I gotta go to sleep. So I'm in there for a minute, and then I bailed, and then I went to sleep. But I didn't sleep well. I went to sleep at about midnight, and literally these people were in my head. Okay, I mean obviously not literally because there weren't a whole bunch of little people in my head, but I could, I had the app on, and again, like the days kind of ran together. So I had the app on for a lot of the day yesterday. And then there was this time when I accidentally like clicked on my ex-husband's new wife to let her in, which it's not like I didn't want to let her in, like I would have let her in, but then I clicked on, and we're not friends. Like I'd like to say we're friends, but we're not. And so, I mean, no like aggro towards her, but what I did was then I accidentally clicked on something to invite her to talk to me, and we don't talk. And I'm like, and then she declined it, and I'm like, okay, that was awkward and weird, and I did not mean to do that. So that's just like a little weird like side note that I felt strange about all weekend. But anyway, and then so I just woke up honestly like totally exhausted, and I have been for the last several months super jazzed about the business I'm creating, about the clients I'm working with, and I have a project that I had to get to this morning, and so I'm getting to it, but at the same time, then I get a pop-up, I get an invitation from Ken. I'm like, damn, Ken, didn't you like just go to sleep? I mean, have you ever slept? Did you even sleep last night? Turns out, no, I don't think so. Maybe like 2 or 3 hours. I don't know if Ken, if you hear this, maybe you can comment if you did sleep. More power to you. But then, so Ken and I are in this room that he started, and he says, hey, do you want to moderate? I'm like, sure, let me moderate and see. I'd love this opportunity because I'm learning. I'm like, okay, I'm learning about this. So we start, and it was fun. And then I was like, okay, I have to set an hour limit. I set an hour limit. I did it while I was making coffee and eating breakfast. And then I got off of it. And then I started working on my business, on this project that I'm doing. And that was like just annoying. Like it was a Kajabi thing, and like I have this like really cool startup glossary, by the way. So if you want that, go to my Instagram, and I'll have the link in there. And maybe I'll put the link in here too. So I'm putting together, just a little shameless plug. So I'm putting together this the startup glossary, like the sequence, right? Like so the opt-in, and then you get the thing to download it. And I'm like, I want to focus on this, but then I get one of those notifications from Clubhouse that there's this like women's empowerment thing happening, and I'm like, oh damn! Like so I click on that, and I was one of the early people, and they invited me to be a moderator. So then I'm in this group. So I'm at my desk, which is, by the way, because my kids came home, 2 of them are in what should be the office. Well, I should, but what would normally be the office. So now I'm like, I've got my little office corner in my bedroom. So I'm trying to figure out this Kajabi technical thing. And that's already like blowing brain cells. I've taken Tylenol because I slept. I mean, I went to bed. Normally I go to bed at 9-ish. My kids might tell you like 7-ish, but I go to bed at like 9-ish, and I sleep until like 6 or 7. I'm really a sleeper. Like I need sleep. And I didn't go to bed until midnight because I was on these damn rooms. And then I woke up like my normal time. I woke up a little early, like 5:30. And so I'm really tired, and I just feel this like Clubhouse hangover. So then I go in this room because I'm like, well, what if this is really cool? And then they set me up as a moderator right away. And the cool thing when you're a moderator is people really like, they see you, like you're at the top at this little, it's like you're in a panel, right? And then there's all these people down in the audience, and they're all following you. So I'm like, wow, okay. Kind of cool. Like this is a good opportunity because I'm a moderator in a pretty big room. And And then it's, that's that adrenaline. It's like, it's so addicting. I mean, I've got more followers on Instagram, and then I'm connecting. People are sending me direct message DMs, and then I'm getting more followers on Clubhouse, and I keep on refreshing it. And then I'm like, oh my God, all of a sudden it's been another hour. And there's really, really impressive people on this panel. And then this one woman, her name is Lauren Lahav. I hadn't heard of her before. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but I took down her phone number, and I'm like, oh, wow, I want to work with her. She's so cool. And then, some other like really, really cool, empowering people. And then, but at the same time, I'm like, I didn't sleep well, and I'm not getting done what I need to get done. And I'm hearing people's stories about how they didn't sleep. But when they talk about the stories about how they didn't sleep, they are so excited about Clubhouse. They're like, I was up till 3 or I was up till 4 or whatever. I didn't sleep at all. I've been on this app. I've been taking notes and learning so much. I mean, there is a huge learning element to this. People share really, really good stuff on there. So then I'm like, okay, I've got to get this work done. So, but I don't want to lose my space as moderator. Now, since then I've realized if you click back, if you can peace out of a room, if you peace out, or they call it leave quietly. If you leave quietly, when you come back, if you had been moderator, you still are moderator. I learned that. So good tip. Because they're probably still on there, even though it's been 5 hours, because I just looked and they were on there right before I started this video. Okay, so then I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to stick my phone under my pillow. Because I don't want to lose my place. I didn't know that I could go back as moderator. I'm like, I'm getting more followers. This is how crazy I was. And so I put the volume down, and I put the phone under my pillow. But I could still kind of hear some voices. And even like, I'm like, it was so like, there's these voices under my pillow, and I couldn't focus on anything else. And I was like, I gotta capture this experience and share about what these last 48 hours have been to me on a video. So it's been a combination of interesting, empowering. I might get clients from this. I don't know. I told you that I didn't go on the Mongolian date, but I got asked out on another one tonight. I think he's from LA, so I might do that. I made a connection with this dude who seems really cool, who lives in LA, and we're talking about getting together. And I learned a lot. Like, I got some really empowering stuff. That women's room was about imposter syndrome, and some of these speakers were so phenomenal and so inspiring. And I had a lot of really good takeaways. Like this one woman I mentioned, Lauren, I mean, she's spoken with Tony Robbins, and just, I loved what she was talking about imposter syndrome, and so relatable. And at the same time, I'm really tired. Like, I'm fucking tired. And I'm like, I don't think this is really, I don't know, like, I'm trying not to put a judgment on it yet, but it's like one of those things that just seems a little bit weird. That just doesn't totally add up. And that's really all I've got to say. So if you're on Clubhouse, find me, Diane Prince. I got my name. Yay. Missed out on that on Gmail when Gmail started. Let me know, please drop in the comments what you think about Clubhouse. I know it's going to evolve, and this video will seem probably, I don't know, it's like I feel like I'm memorializing this moment for me when the floodgates have opened for Clubhouse. And I just see it for me as being, I feel like I need to set some Clubhouse boundaries. Let's just say that. And as I'm doing this video, I'm getting all sorts of pings, being invited into rooms. And please share what you think and what your experiences are. I would love to hear. And I hope this was helpful and or entertaining. And maybe I'll see you over at Clubhouse. Bye.